So, good morning to all students. And today we will be rediscussing the chapter Heredity and Evolution. We will start with today's class with heredity. Already we have completed this chapter, but then also I told you that all the chapters of the term 2 we will be revising again. We have completed revision or the rediscussion of how do organisms reproduce. Even we have completed the rediscussion of our environment, and then we are continuing with our third chapter of term 2, that is heredity and evolution. Remember here, students, out of these two topics, only one topic, heredity, is for your academic session. That means for the terminal examination. Though both the area of both heredity and evolution we will discuss, as because you should have the knowledge about evolution also. Otherwise, it will be an incomplete information. So we will begin our chapter of heredity. And before going into the discussion of heredity, let me have your previous acquired knowledge. One common question to you all: is there any resemblance between you and your parent? You have to give this answer in yes or no. Is there any resemblance between you and your parent? Okay. Okay, all the answers which I got is yes. All the answers which I've got is showing yes. Okay, fine. Now, those who have said yes, can you tell me that what is the resemblance between you and your parent? What is the resemblance between you and your parent? What is the resemblance between you and your parent? Okay, face structure, eye, face color, height. You are saying body color, hair, eye. Okay, keep on responding. I'm seeing the chat box. Okay, again, face structure, eye. Okay, fine. Okay, very good. Yes, some of you have shared that you have resemblance in eye color. Some of you have shared you have resemblance in skin color. Some of you have shared you have resemblance in characters. And some of you have shared that you have the resemblance in the hair, even the height. Yes, definitely, student, you have some or the other resemblance definitely with your parent. Okay, now my next question, actually, student, before starting the topic, I want to see or link your knowledge with this topic. Can you tell me, student, how do you got these characters which you all are sharing that it is a common between you and your parent? How you have got this character in common from the parent? Okay, Khushi, Khushbu, Khush. Okay, you all are saying due to heredity, due to gene. Okay, through gene. Okay, fine. Yes, definitely you all are correct. Our characters are present in gene, and the gene are inherited or transmitted from one generation to the next through the mechanism, or we can say that is the heredity. So heredity is the transmission of the characteristics from one generation to the next. Now, student, there is another term regarding characteristics. Can anyone tell? Another term is there in genetics regarding characteristics. We have used a number of times. Another term is there. Very good. Traits. Okay. Traits. Correct? The traits. Very good. Yes. So definitely heredity is the transmission of the characteristics or traits from one generation to another through definitely the gene, and gene is present in the DNA, DNA is present in the chromosome. So now let us come to the initial part of this chapter, that is accumulation of variation. First of all, students, before going into the discussion of what is the accumulation of the variation during reproduction, can anyone recall what is variation? Through the chat box, you give me the reply. What is variation? Because variation also we have done a number of times in the chapter, how do organisms reproduce? Okay. Variation, okay. Differences, okay, Divya. Variation mean differences, okay. Fine. Okay, now you see. See, inheritance from previous generation provide common basic body design and minute changes for next generation. Second generation get inherited differences and newly created differences. In asexual reproduction, the resultant individuals get only very minor differences due to small inaccuracy in DNA copying. However, in sexual reproduction, greater diversity is generated. And this variation in the species have no equal chances of surviving in the environment. Based on the nature of the variation, different individuals which have different kind of advantages. For example, bacteria that can withstand heat will survive better in a heat wave. And selection of the variant by environmental factor is the basis of evolution. So definitely, students, if you can remember when we were discussing the chapter, how do organisms reproduce, there we have studied that sexual reproduction create variation. Okay, why? Because the characteristics is coming from both the parent, okay, and there occur, we can say, inaccuracy also during the DNA copying. DNA will produce its own copy, that is called replication. But in case of asexual reproduction, very minor differences arise, because we all know that in the asexual reproduction, there is, we can say, no variation, as because single parent is involved. And from here, from the single parent only, there are different modes by which the organism is reproducing. And one very, we can say, very common example of the variation we have said, and we discussed also, that suppose the environment is hot, okay, and there are two types of bacteria living in the environment. One is one type of bacteria can withstand the heat, and one bacteria cannot withstand the heat. So the bacteria that can withstand the heat, definitely that bacteria will be surviving during the time of the hot environmental condition. And this bacteria will be fixed up in the population, and they will be reproducing to give rise to definitely the heat resistant variety only. So this is the accumulation of the variation during the reproduction. And definitely those better selected variant will be fixed up or by the environmental factor, and this will lead to the very important environmental mechanism, that is evolution, which is a gradual change in life form over a millions of years. Did you got it, student? Accumulation of variation during reproduction. Did you got it? Did you understood? Through the chat box, you give me the reply. Okay, fine. Yes, I got your responses. Okay, fine. Yes. Okay. Fine. So now Let us come to the next topic. Yes, in the next topic, we are first discussing, though you all know that trait means the characteristics. Here, first, we will talk about the inherited trait, as because we are talking about the inheritance, or we are talking about the transmission of the characteristics from one generation to the next. So here, a child bear all the basic features of a human being. However, it does not look exactly like its parent. Human population show a great variation. One very example of that variation is variation in earlobes. Most of the individuals have free earlobes, the dominant character, and some of them have the attached earlobe, that is a recessive character. So student, before going into the discussion of this topic, I would randomly ask you a question that do you think that the child of a doctor becomes a doctor, child of a teacher becomes a teacher? Is it necessary? They can become and they cannot become also. So what do you think, that is it compulsory that they will become as the profession the parent are having? No. Your answer is no. And one very good answer is coming, maybe. Definitely, we can say it is possible, and it is not mandatory, or we can say it is not compulsory, because that characters are the acquired characters. For example, one more example we will discuss over here. Suppose you are taking the mouse, male and the female, allowing them to reproduce, and their offsprings are produced. You are cutting the tail of the offspring. Again, you are allowing them to reproduce. For like this, you are continuing this experiment for near about 2 to 3 to 4 generation. So what do you think that will in each and every generation the tail of the mouse will be present, or it will be absent? What do you think? Very good. Present. Correct. Yes, you are correct. It will be present. Definitely correct. It will be present. So, yes, it will be present because you are not making any change in the gene which is responsible for the formation or the presence of the tail. And if suppose you are making any change in the gene, then that gene, or we can say the manipulated gene, will be definitely transmitted from one generation to the another. For example, in this very image, you can see over here that there is a group of people, and what you are observing in this image, student, what you are observing in this image, which I have encircled, what you are observing over here, through the chat box, you give me the reply. This image which I have encircled, what are you observing in this image? Very good. They are different type of people. Differences in terms of either body color, even hair, even faces. They are different from each other. Very good. They are different from, that means variation is there. Okay. And students, the next image, one in the caption only it is written free earlobe, and another it is given attached earlobe. Free earlobe is the we can say the maximum organism or the maximum individual in the human population are having the free earlobe. Okay, this part is the lobe, and if it is not attached with the face, then it is free earlobe. And this is a dominant trait, means in the population maximum it is there. So if any character is present in maximum in the population, definitely that becomes a dominant factor, or we can say the dominant trait. And the one which is occurring in lesser frequency, that will be called the recessive trait. So free earlobe is the dominant trait, and attached earlobe is the recessive trait. Is it clear to all? So these are definitely the inherited trait. If the parent are having this character, it will pass to the next generation. And if the parent do not have this character, that means these characters are present in the gene. Okay, and these are not the acquired trait or the acquired character. Am I clear to all? Am I clear to all the students? Okay, fine. Okay. 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 Now we are moving to the next topic of discussion. Now, say heredity, the rules for the inheritance, Mendel. Now, first of all, before going into the discussion of heredity, we have or we are seeing a scientist whose image is highlighted over here. He is the father of genetics, and his full name is Gregor Johann Mendel. Okay, if in the examination you write Mendel also, he is popularly known as Mendel, so no problem with that. And his full name is Gregor Johann Mendel. He worked on, or we can say his contribution in the field of genetics is immense, and till now he is known to be, or we can say he's the father of genetics actually, but his contribution is really, we can say, he threw torch, or we can say he was the person who provided light on the concept of heredity. Now see, father and mother contribute equal amount of genetic material to the child. That is, each trait is influenced by paternal and maternal DNA. Thus, for each trait, there will be two versions in each child. Now, student, we are using this sentence that father and mother contribute equal amount of genetic material. My immediate question, because we have done the chapter reproduction, why do father and the mother contribute equal amount, and how they contribute equal amount of the genetic material to the child? How father and mother contribute equal genetic material to the child? Answer this question. Okay, for this, let me interact also with some of you. Who wants to answer this question? Raise your hand quickly so that I can unmute you. Okay, it's Khushbu. Khushbu, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Khushbu, go ahead.
Sir, can you repeat question again?
Okay, I repeat my question. I said that how we are saying that father and mother equally contribute, or we can say contribute equal amount of the genetic material to the child. How do the child receive equal amount of genetic material from the parent?
Sir, genetic material from parents, the child got through the chromosome, 23 pair of chromosome from father and from mother.
Very good. The 23 pair of chromosome. Very good answer. It is actually we the humans have altogether 46 chromosome or 23 pairs. So during the sex determination, or during the fertilization, time of the fertilization, when the male and the female gamete fuses together, we get 23 chromosome from father and 23 chromosome from mother. As a result, we can justify with this statement that father and mother contribute equal amount of genetic material to the child. That is, each trait is influenced by paternal and maternal DNA definitely. So after this introductory part, we were discussing about Gregor Johann Mendel. Gregor Johann Mendel worked out the main rules for such inheritance. That is from the father and the mother, how the characters are getting transmitted from one generation to the another. Now, Mendel worked with a plant that is a pea plant, garden pea plant. The name or the scientific name of this pea plant is Pisum sativum. And he worked with several characters. Okay, several characters, and that characters were contrasting visible characters. Contrasting means, here you can see in this image. Okay, here you can see in this image, contrasting characters are highlighted. What is this? Some tall pea plant, some dwarf pea plant. So togetherly this make one contrasting character, and the character is definitely the height. And the character is definitely the height. Did you got it? It is the height. For the height, we are saying two characters are he is taking, tall and dwarf. So here the character is height, and what are the varieties? Tall and dwarf. Then regarding the color also of the flower, violet and white. Then you have the pod shape, then the pod color. But student, remember one very important thing, for class 10 level, we will be remembering three characters, or we can say three traits. One is the height, other is the seed shape, and the seed color. With these characters, our class 10 discussion will be restricted. So this is for the height, this is for the seed shape, and this is for the seed color. For the height of the plant, two characters Mendel took. One is the tall and the other is the dwarf. For the seed shape, he took round and wrinkled, and for seed color, yellow and green. Here, tall is dominant over dwarf, round is dominant over wrinkled, and yellow is dominant over green. Okay, so this is the we can say the introductory part of what characters did Mendel took. But before going into the discussion of the characters, the rules of inheritance, we have to justify that why Mendel took pea plant for his experiment. For this, any students, you can raise your hand who wants to answer. Why did Mendel selected pea plant? Okay, Aryan raised his hand. Okay, Aryan, you can mute yourself. Unmute yourself, Aryan.
Yes, sir.
Aryan, why Mendel selected pea plant for his experiment?
Sir, pea plant can produce number of generation within short period of time. It
Okay.
can be self-pollinated and it clear-cut differentiating character.
Okay, very good, Aryan. You can mute yourself. Yes, he has given three reasons or three justifications. What are these? First of all, the most important thing is that clear-cut differentiating characters are present. Clear-cut differentiating character means, suppose Mendel is taking or Mendel is working regarding the height of the plant. So here Mendel is taking two characters, tall and dwarf. If suppose I compare tall and dwarf, is it clearly visible or distinguishing character, or is it full of confusion? Tell me, students, if I'm taking tall and a dwarf, or we can say the short the character, is this character confusing or is it a very clear-cut character? Is it clear-cut character or confusing character? Very good. It is a clear-cut character. Now, if we are taking the example of the seed shape, some seeds are round and some seeds are wrinkled. So again, my question to you, is it a clear-cut differentiating character or a confusing one? Yes, all of you are giving me the answer. It's a clear-cut differentiating character. Again, if we are taking the seed color, yellow and green, definitely I can say the the yellow and green are clear-cut differentiating character free from confusion. Okay. So this is the, or we can say this is the part, or we can say the reason why Mendel selected the pea plant for his experiment. This was the first reason. These plants can easily be self-pollinated, and whenever the geneticist, whenever the people who work with the genetics, they always want to work with such organism whose reproduction rate is very faster. That means they can produce a number of generation within a short period of time. For example, if I talk about that, we don't want to conduct experiments or regarding genetics on elephant, because we know that reproduction rate of the elephant is very low. And suppose if we are experimenting with it, we have to wait for a number of years to get our observations and the inference from the observation. So we try, or we prefer to use those organisms which are reproducing or producing a number of offsprings within a short period of time. Is it clear to all? Is it clear to all? Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, till this, do you have any doubts? Till this, if you have any doubts, you can share, because in our next class, we will proceed with the Mendel's law, and that is the first we will be doing the monohybrid cross, then the dihybrid cross. Till this, anyone having any doubt? Or let me randomly ask a few questions from you all. So, and you will be raising your hand. First of all, my question to you, that what do we mean by this? I will interact with you so that you can unmute yourself, but you have to raise your hand. What do we mean by heredity? What do we mean by heredity? Okay, this I'm giving option to Anjali. Anjali, you can unmute yourself, Anjali.
Yes, sir.
What do we mean by heredity, Anjali?
It is the process by which transmission takes place. Sorry, sir. It is the process of transmission of characteristics or traits from one generation to another.
Very good. Transmission of the characteristics from one generation to the next. Very correct. Next, my question is, what do we mean by variation? What do we mean by variation? You have to raise your hand, and then I will unmute you to answer the question. What do we mean by variation? Yes, quickly raise your hand. Well, this question is not at all confusing. Student, yes, Khushbu, the homozygous, heterozygous, this all condition we will be discussing when we will be doing the monohybrid cross, Mendel's first law of inheritance. Okay, Khushbu? What is variation? My question is audible, na? What is variation? What is variation? Okay. Yes, Kunal, I'm giving you the option to unmute yourself. Answer my question. What is variation? Yes, Kunal. I think. What is variation, Kunal?
Variations is the differences found in an organisms after reproduction.
Okay. The variation or the differences, we can say, fine, good. Now, my next question to you all, which plant did Mendel selected for his experiment and why? Which plant did Mendel selected for his experiment and why? Only one hand, and again same, student Anjali. Okay, yes, Palak also. Okay, Palak. Wait, let me give you the option, Palak. Just a moment. Yes, Palak, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Palak, go ahead.
Mendel took pea plant for his experiment because there is clear-cut differentiating characters are present. It can be self-pollinated and it can produce number of generation within short period of time.
Very good. All the points you have covered. Very nice. Okay. My next question, that what do we mean by the inherited traits? What do we mean by the inherited traits? Quickly raise your hand. What do we mean by inherited traits? Okay, Anjali. Okay. Okay, Anjali, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Yes, Anjali, you can unmute.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Anjali, give the answer. What do you mean by inherited traits?
Inherited traits are the traits that get transmitted from one generation to the next.
Can you give example?
Yes, sir. Eye color, attached earlobe.
Very good. Eye color attached to earlobe. Okay, fine. Yes. So students, yes. So today we discussed about what is heredity, accumulation of the variation, inherited traits, then contribution of the Mendel, which plant did Mendel selected and what was the reason. And in our next class, we will be continuing with the Mendel's law of inheritance. Now, at the end, all of you write down today's assignment. At the end, all of you write down today's assignment. Write down. Which plant did Mendel selected for his experiment and why? Which plant did Mendel selected for his experiment and why? Which plant did Mendel selected for his experiment and why? Next question. Define inherited trait with example. 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 Okay? Okay.